I woke up with the worst headache of my life in a bed that wasn't mine, wearing a pair of flannel pajamas I'd never seen. Before panic hit immediately, I sat up too fast, making the rustic room spin, and tried to piece together last night. My best friend Maya's wedding in some tiny town in the middle of nowhere. Drinks, lots of them, a barn reception. With a surprisingly good band, dancing. More drinks and then nothing. Complete blackout, my hand felt heavy. Massive silver ring with an intricate turquoise inlay was on my left ring finger. It wasn't costume jewelry, it was heavy, authentic, the kind of piece that felt like it had a history. The bedroom was cozy but large, with exposed wooden beams and a wide window overlooking rolling hills and a sprawling ranch. This wasn't a hotel room, this was someone's home. I stumbled out of bed and tried the door. Unlocked, the hallway beyond was all polished wood and Western art. Hello. My voice came out scratchy. Is anyone here? Good morning, Mr. Thorne. An older woman with a kind face and a faded apron appeared from what looked like a kitchen. Mr. Thorne asked me to make sure you had everything you needed when you woke up. He's out on the porch. Mr. Thorne, no, there's been a mistake. I'm Alex Chin. I don't know who Mr. Thorne is, but it's not me. Her expression didn't change. Perhaps you should speak with Wyatt. He'll explain everything. I followed her gesture toward the front of the house, my head pounding, my memory a complete blank. On the wide wooden porch, sitting in a rocking chair with a cup of coffee, was a cowboy who looked like he'd been carved from the American West itself. He was tall and powerfully built, with dark hair, sharp features, and an air of quiet confidence on his head, shading his eyes from the morning sun was a dark brown cowboy hat. He looked up as I approached, and his dark eyes assessed me with a calm intensity that made my skin prickle. Alex, good you're awake. How's your head? How do you know my name? Who are you, and why is your housekeeper calling me Mr. Thorne? I stayed near the doorway, ready to run. Because that's your name now, at least legally, he said, his voice a low, steady rumble. He sat down his coffee and stood, moving with an easy grace. I'm Wyatt Tor, and according to the county clerk, we got married last night. The porch tilted. That's not funny. I didn't get married. I was at my friend's wedding reception. Let me show you something. He pulled out his phone and brought up a video. It showed me. Definitely me wearing my suit from the wedding, but with the tie loosened. Standing next to this man in front of a justice of the peace. I was laughing, stumbling slightly and clinging to his arm. The video, me was kissing him enthusiastically while someone in the background cheered. No, that's not. I wouldn't, but it was clearly me. Blackout drunk and apparently ecstatically happy about getting hitched to a complete stranger. You were very enthusiastic, he said matter-of-factly, kept saying. You'd always wanted a cowboy, and that this was the most romantic thing that had ever happened to you. I stared at the ring on my finger. This isn't real. We can just get it annulled. It's not legal if I was too drunk to consent. Actually, the law in this state is pretty permissive about it, as long as you could stand and say I do, which you clearly could. The marriage is legal and binding. He crossed his arms. But you're right, we could get it annulled. That's actually why I brought you here. We need to discuss terms. I just want to undo this and go home. It wasn't entirely a mistake. His expression remained neutral. I needed to get married quickly for family reasons. Legitimate marriage to someone from outside this town. You were willing and perfect for my purposes, so I took advantage of the opportunity. The casual admission made my blood run cold. You deliberately married a drunk stranger for family reasons. That's predatory. Call it what you want. The marriage is legal, and now I need you to stay married to me for the next 6 months. Publicly, convincingly. In exchange, I'll compensate you generously and ensure the annulment happens smoothly. Once the arrangement is no longer needed. You're insane. I'm not staying married to you. I don't even know you. You know my name. You know I own this ranch. That's all you need to know for now. He gestured to a folder on a small table. This is a prenuptial agreement my lawyer drew up this morning. It outlines the terms. You stay married to me for 6 Months make public appearances as my husband and convince anyone watching that we're a genuine couple. In return, you'll receive $100,000. $100,000. That was more than I made in 2 years as a librarian. It was my entire student loan debt wiped clean. Why, what kind of family business requires a sham marriage the kind where my grandfather's will is very specific, he said, his tone clipped, to inherit this ranch, the one my family has worked for 5 generations. I have to be settled and married by my 30th birthday, which is in 7 months. Without a husband, the land gets sold off to developers. This ranch is my life, Alex. I won't lose it over a technicality. So this is about an inheritance. It's about my home, my legacy. Your job is to be my husband publicly, ask no questions about the ranch's finances, and collect your payment. Simple, mutually beneficial. Except I don't benefit, I get dragged into your family drama, lie to everyone, and essentially become a paid husband. Our private lives will be completely separate, he said, his gaze unwavering. Separate bedrooms, no physical intimacy is required or expected. You're simply playing a role, but if you refuse, you'll spend months dealing with my legal team, making the annulment as difficult and public as possible, and you'll walk away with nothing. Your choice. It was coercion. I was a guest who couldn't leave, being offered a deal I could barely refuse. $100,000 would change my entire life. And what was the alternative? A messy, expensive legal battle against a man who clearly had resources I couldn't imagine. I need to think about this, I said, collapsing into a chair. You have 24 hours, he stood, his presence filling the porch. Your clothes from last night are being cleaned. I had some things brought in for you. Feel free to explore the ranch, but don't leave the property until you've made your decision. After he left, I found my phone and saw a dozen missed calls from Maya. I called her back immediately. Alex, oh my God, where are you? You vanished from the reception. I'm okay. This is going to sound insane, but I think I got married last night. Silence. Then what? There's a ring on my finger, a video, and a very intense cowboy claiming we're legally married. He wants me to stay married to him for 6 months to secure his inheritance, and he's offering me $100,000. More silence. Okay, that's kidnapping. Call the police and tell them what? That I got drunk, married, and now my legal husband won't let me leave his ranch until I sign a contract. He's right. Alex, this is insane. You can't seriously be considering this. $100,000. Maya, my student loan's gone, a down payment on a place of my own. It's security I've never had, but she was right. It was a crazy, dangerous idea. I spent the rest of the day wandering the ranch, a sprawling, beautiful property that was clearly a massive operation. That evening, Wyatt and I had dinner at a large wooden table in the main house. Have you made your decision? He asked. I have questions. First, what does being your husband actually entail? Attending town events with me, a few family dinners, the occasional community barbecue. Act affectionate, hold my hand, let me put my arm around you. So the story that we had a whirlwind romance and couldn't wait to get married. And in private, we're roommates, polite, cordial, but we maintain our distance. We live our own lives within the same house. What about my job? I'm a librarian in the city. I have to be back at work. You'll have to take a leave of absence. Tell them it's for personal reasons. The money I'm offering more than covers your lost wages. He leaned forward. Alex, this is my last offer. I need you to understand. This marriage is real on paper. The only question is whether you benefit from it or fight it. 6 months. Is $100,000 not worth 6 months of pretending? I looked at him, the stranger who held my future in his hands. Then I thought about my cramped city apartment and my mountain of debt. Fine, I heard myself say, I'll do it, but I wanted in writing that after the 6 months, the annulment is immediate and you cover all legal fees. He studied me for a long moment, then nodded. Deal, I'll have the contract amended. We sign tomorrow. He stood. Flicker of something I couldn't read in his eyes. Welcome to your new life, Mr. Thorn, the next morning I signed away. 6 months of my life, Wyatt's lawyer, sharp woman from the nearest big town. Witness the signature. Congratulations. She said drily, I've prepared a story. For you to memorize, you met a month ago. When Alex was visiting friends, it was love at first sight, the wedding was impulsive but felt right, the town will buy it, they love a good romance. First test is this Saturday, Wyatt said. After she'd left the annual town barbecue, you'll be introduced as my husband, these people have known me my whole life, they'll be looking for cracks in the story, don't give them any. I'm a librarian, I said I can be convincing, you need to be more than convincing, you need to forget this is an arrangement for a few hours, you need to actually be my husband, can you do that? I could try. The barbecue was exactly as I'd pictured it, checkered tablecloths, the smell of grilling meat, and what felt like the entire town gathered in a park. Wyatt's hand found mine as we walked in, his touch warm and firm. Everyone, he announced to the first group we met, this is Alex, my husband. The introductions blurred together, nosy neighbors, old family friends, curious ranchers, they all studied me, their questions a mix of genuine warmth and subtle suspicion. Hardest test came in the form of a formidable older woman with Wyatt's dark eyes, who everyone called Clara, his grandmother. So you're the one who finally roped my grandson, she said, her voice sharp but not unkind, a city boy. Never thought I'd see the day, sometime. You just know, I said, repeating a line from the script. Hoff, love at first sight is for romance novels, marriage is about work, about weathering storms. This ranch has seen plenty of storms. Are you strong enough to stand by him when a real one hits? I am, I said, meeting her gaze. I love your grandson, and that means I'll do whatever it takes to be part of his life and support him. Clara studied me for a long moment, then a small smile touched her lips. He looked at you differently, happier, maybe. There's something to this after all, but don't you dare break his heart, city boy. This family doesn't forgive that easily. You passed, Wyatt murmured in my ear as we walked away. Clara's approval is everything around here. Over the next few weeks, I settled into a surreal routine. Mornings I spent reading on the porch while Wyatt worked the ranch. Afternoons he started teaching me about his world. He taught me to ride a horse, my initial awkwardness turning into a clumsy competence. I helped him mend a fence, feeling the satisfying ache of physical labor for the first time in years. We'd have dinner together, the conversations shifting from polite logistics to genuine discussions about our lives, our dreams, our pasts. It felt dangerously close to a real relationship. He was kind, patient, and deeply passionate about his land and his heritage. I found myself admiring him, and then to my horror, actually liking him. You're getting good at this, he commented one evening after a family dinner where I'd effortlessly recounted our love story to his visiting cousins. You barely even hesitate anymore. It's just a role, I said quickly, trying to reestablish the boundary. That's the arrangement, is that all it is to you? He asked, his expression unreadable under the brim of his hat. Just a role. What else would it be? I stood, suddenly needing space. Good night, Wyatt. But it wasn't just a role anymore, and we both knew it. I'd started noticing the little things, how he always made sure my coffee was ready in the morning, how he'd point out a specific bird he knew I'd find interesting, the way his eyes would linger on me when he thought I wasn't looking. 3 months into the arrangement, the lines blurred completely. We were sitting on the porch one night watching a meteor shower paint streaks across the vast dark sky. It was comfortable, easy, and felt more real than any date I'd ever been on. Maybe we don't get the annulment, he said, quietly, not looking at me. The suggestion hung in the air between us. What are you saying? I'm saying somewhere in the past 3 months this stopped feeling like an arrangement for me. At least he finally turned to face me. I didn't plan for this, Alex, but I've developed feelings for you, real feelings, and I think maybe you have too. He was right. That was the terrifying part. Somewhere between the fake handholding and performed affection, I'd started to fall for the quiet, steady cowboy. This is a terrible Idea, I whispered, we make no sense. I'm a city librarian, you're a rancher. Our worlds are completely different, there. Not so different, he said, moving closer. We both value loyalty, hard work, a quiet life. You've brought something to this ranch, a lightness I didn't know it was missing. You've made me better, Wyatt, just think about it. He said, that's all I'm asking. Our fragile new reality was shattered. The following week, a man named Peterson, a rival rancher who had always wanted Wyatt's land, started snooping around. He'd heard about our sudden wedding and was openly skeptical. He's hired a private investigator, Wyatt told me one evening, his jaw tight. He's trying to prove our marriage is a fraud. If he can do that, he can contest the will and make a play for the ranch. The threat made everything feel real and terrifying. Peterson's investigators started showing up in town, asking questions, trying to catch us in a lie. The pressure was immense. Every public interaction became a high-stakes performance. This is what our life would be like, I said one night after a particularly tense encounter with the investigator at the local diner. Constantly looking over our shoulders, pretending, fighting off people who want to take what's yours. It's not a life. It's a siege, it's temporary, Wyatt insisted. Once the inheritance is legally settled, Peterson has no leverage, but the foundation is still a lie. I can't build a life on that. Fear and pressure had crystallized my feelings. I loved him, but I couldn't live like this. When the 6 months are up, we have to stick to the plan. The annulment, it's the only way. He looked like I'd physically struck him. After everything, you'd still just walk away. I have to, I said, my voice breaking. This world, it's not mine, and I can't pretend it is. The final 2 months were torture. We kept up the public performance, but at home a painful distance grew between us. The easy friendship was gone, replaced by polite, heartbreaking silence. The day our contract expired, he called me into his office. I have the final payment for you, he said, his voice devoid of emotion as he pushed an envelope across the desk. And the annulment papers, just sign them and my lawyer will file everything tomorrow. You'll be free. Signing my name felt like carving out my own heart. Thank you, I whispered, not meeting his eyes. For everything, it was just business. He replied, the words, a cold dismissal of everything we'd shared. I packed my bags, took the money, and left without looking back. 3 months later, I was back in my city apartment, my student loans paid off, my old life slotting back into place around me, but I was a ghost. I went to work, saw friends, but my heart was still on that ranch under that wide open sky. You need to move on, Maya told me gently, or go back. This limbo is destroying you. That night, a massive wildfire broke out in the region. Wyatt's ranch. I watched the news, my stomach churning as I saw images of flames threatening the landscape I'd come to love. I saw the name of his town flash across the screen. They were calling for volunteers to help evacuate livestock and dig fire breaks. Without a second thought, I threw some clothes in a bag, got in my car, and started driving. I didn't know what I would do. When I got there, I just knew I had to go. When I arrived, the air was thick with smoke, and the horizon glowed an angry orange. The ranch was a hub of frantic activity. Neighbors and volunteers were everywhere, moving horses and cattle to safer pastures. I found Wyatt near the main barn, covered in soot, his face grim but determined, his dark brown hat firmly on his head. He froze when he saw me. Alex, what are you doing here? I saw the news, I said, my voice thick with emotion. I had to come. Your grandmother said a real marriage is about weathering storms. This looks like a big one. In for a long moment, he just stared at me, then he crossed the distance between us and pulled me into a fierce, desperate hug. I thought I'd lost you, he breathed into my hair. You haven't, I said, clinging to him. I was an idiot. I was scared. I love you, Wyatt. I don't care about the lies or the inheritance or any of it. I just care about you and this place and us. We worked side by side for the next 2 days, along with the entire community, fighting to save the ranch. We saved the house and the barns, though we lost some of the outlying pastures. In the smoky Aftermath. Standing on the porch of the home we had almost lost, Wyatt turned to me. I never filed the papers, he confessed. The annulment I couldn't do it on paper. You're still my husband. I looked at the silver and turquoise ring, which I'd never taken off. Good, because I don't want an annulment. He pulled a small worn box from his pocket. Inside was a simple silver band that matched my ring perfectly. Marry me again, he said, his voice rough. For real this time? No contracts, no pretending, just you and me for good. We're already married, I said, tears streaming down my face as I laughed. Then let's start acting like it, he said, sliding the band onto my finger before pulling me into a kiss that tasted of smoke, exhaustion, and a new beginning. 5 years later, our adopted son Daniel was chasing chickens in the yard while Wyatt and I watched from the porch, his arm wrapped securely around me. The ranch was thriving, and Peterson had long since given up. Our life was quiet, full of hard work, and more real and beautiful than anything I could have ever imagined. Remember when you woke up here with the worst hangover of your life? Wyatt murmured against my temple. Vaguely, I teased, something about a cowboy, a contract, and a ridiculous amount of money. Best drunk decision you ever made? No, I said, leaning into him and watching our son trip and fall, only to get right back up again. Laughing, the best decision I ever made was driving back into the